We're here with Mike Deutz, the third person evicted from the Big Brother 8 house, and still no regrets for sticking up for Kale. I'm just kidding.
None.
Wow. All right. We saw you working out in the backyard with Nick, and one of the afternoons you were doing so, Zach and Dustin were making fun of you guys, calling you Cragnus and Magnus. How did it feel being made into this character? And wasn't it hard to focus on concentrating?
It was really, really hard to concentrate while trying to work out, but at the same time, it was very, very funny. And I'm glad it was carried over into an actual, strongman competition. It was a lot of fun, and so I'm really glad they were almost, mocking us in a way as we were lifting weights that first time.
They were just jealous.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially Zach. What do you make of Zach? Because he was in your Mrs. Robinson alliance, and people in the house don't really care for him right now. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I'm completely aware of that, and I feel sorry for the guy. He tries really, really hard to, I think, fit in to the groups of people. Almost trying too hard. I think he tried to talk a lot of strategy at first, almost in every conversation he had. And it wasn't a very personal conversation. It always ended up to be, talking some type of a strategy. And people didn't care for that, I think, so soon in the game. And they kind of, put him as an outcast very, early on. And it just has kind of stuck with him now, the remainder of this time.
Why did your Mrs. Robinson alliance of you, Kale, Zach and Nick fall apart so quickly?
Well, it came down to the point where it was when Dick became head of household, and Kale and myself had felt the communications between the four of us, between Kale and myself, and then back to Zach and Nick, were kind of spreading thin. And it was really hard to keep things in focus, and the trust issues were getting kind of smaller, between the alliance itself. And
did you double cross her when you voted out Joe without telling her, and she was the one by herself who voted out Dick last week?
Oh no, not in any way did I ever double cross her. I did let her know that the votes were all changing, and she at that time asked me what she should do with her vote. So it was totally my mistake in thinking, with her asking what to do with her vote, that she knew all the votes were changing. I told her to keep her vote the same because Dick had already, called her out and knows she was campaigning against him. And
but she was mad afterwards. She was like, when, there seemed to be a lot of confusion. Like you said, poor lines of communication between you and Kale, because she was like, when were you going to tell me? She wasn't happy.
Well, yeah, she, but she was surprised, and I went back and had a conversation with her and asked her if, she felt betrayed, to be very honest with me, because I wanted to know. And she said, she never felt betrayed. She's always, thought of me as 100% loyal, and so that to me right there proved that, that maybe she was surprised, but never felt betrayed or thrown under the train by me, which was never my intentions in the first place, and hopefully that was proved in my actions later on.
Yeah, I hope so. Nick was in your alliance. How well do you know him, and is he truly falling for Danielle? Is he playing her?
Honestly, I cannot say. I don't know Nick that well. Yeah, he was part of our alliance. The only reason he was part of our alliance is because Zach initially wanted to be in an alliance with him. And Kale and I had talked. She didn't want to be in an alliance of two. She talked about three, and Zach being the third person, and Zach wanted Nick. So that's how Nick ended up in the alliance. It was his role to kind of play the other side of people and really not communicate with our group a whole lot, so people wouldn't catch on. And I kind of had feelings that he was going over to the other side and kind of switching his game plan up. And it seemed like he was spending an awful lot of time with Danielle. And at first he said he was playing her, but
At first he said so?
Yeah.
To you privately, or to you and others?
It was two others, and then rumored to me. And then he did mention to me that he would vote Danielle out if need be. So
yes,
that
I
was,
remember seeing that. Okay, when we announced that the twist this season was the enemy twist, do you think you were going to have an enemy, someone from your past?
No, absolutely not.
Because you don't have any?
I don't have any enemies, no.
So you didn't care.
Worries. Yeah.
Now, have you found out since you've been out of the house what the other twist is this
Yeah,
season?
I have found out.
It's America's player.
Yep.
And it's Eric.
Yeah.
How surprised are you?
I was surprised to find out the twist, and I was surprised to find out it was Eric, but it makes a lot of sense to me now, looking back on it, because he did spend a lot of time being called and going into the diary room.
For his
So,
next mission?
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me now.
But
And-
then thinking back and looking at his behavior, other than going in the diary room for each mission, did you do you think anything looked suspect or odd about his gameplay?
You know, the first thing that jumps out to me is on the actual eviction yesterday, he seemed to be pacing around by himself when everybody else was seated just before the ceremony.
Do you know why?
Yeah, I do know why, because I know he was in the meeting with the group of people who all voted against me, and he knew that it was America's choice that they wanted me to stay, and he had to vote that way. And he was probably very nervous about having to come up with a game plan to cover himself, you know, afterwards.
That must make you feel a little bit better that America's choice was to vote out Kayla, not you.
Yeah, it does. It makes me feel a lot better. Brings up my spirits.
What'd you miss the most, being away from home and friends and society?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what I missed, being away from the family and friends, you know, that I could call up anytime when I needed to talk to them, or, you know, advice or comfort, whatever it may be. You know, it wasn't there. You know, those lines of communication were completely cut off. So that was what was most hard.
So when you got out, you called your parents and your
Right
sister.
away, yeah.
What'd they say?
Well, after all the tears they were shedding, they, you know, so they loved me, obviously, and they're, you know, very proud, you know, to have watched me, you know, play my game, and you know, happy to hear from me, because it's been a while.
Mike, good luck to you.
Oh, thank you
I'll
so
see you
much.
on finale night.
Yeah, sounds
we bring
good.
everyone back